Hey everybody, this is graphic designer Roberto Blake of robertoblake.com helping you create something awesome today. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about why it's important as a graphic designer for you to learn about digital print production. Digital print production is one of the things that many new graphic designers, many young graphic designers get absolutely wrong. And I can't just blame it on professors and teachers in the schools. I think that there's a mentality because whether you're going to a highly paid accredited school or not, or whether you are a self-educated designer, what I'm hearing from a lot of people in the print industry and a lot of the production artists at the print shops is that they're having to correct your work because it has mistakes for the print side, and it's little things. And it's things that you may not know or understand because they just may not have covered it in the course or the curriculum that you took. It might have been a requirement, or honestly, maybe your instructor professor just never worked with the newer technology to understand how to communicate it. They might have worked in a print shop, had plenty of experience, but they don't know how the new stuff, maybe they worked in Quark and most of the stuff is InDesign now, and they can teach you how to do the layout part of it. They can teach you about CMYK, color theory, and different things, but maybe they can't teach you how to use the tools to appropriately do what's necessary for the print production side, or maybe honestly they don't know. And it's a frequent problem. I'll give you a primary example. A lot of designers, because they're mostly digital, when they go into Adobe InDesign, they're taking RGB color photos and images that haven't been converted to CMYK, but they're printing them in a CMYK document space. Now, that becomes a problem when it's time for people to take it to print, and sometimes they're having to go through an extra process or rigmarole, or things are not color accurate because of that problem. And you might be thinking, well, when I printed it at home on my home printer, it came out fine, whatever. I get it. But part of the professional print production workflow is that all of the image assets that go into a program like Adobe InDesign or Quark Express that are going to be going to CMYK 4-color printing need to be converted to CMYK beforehand. And when you do that and you change that color profile in Photoshop, it's going to change the color values. So then you might need to add some adjustment layers. You might need to bump up the brightness or saturation. You might need to adjust the curves and the tonal range. There might be things you need to do to make that image perfect or make that image right before you take it into Adobe InDesign at that point. And again, I will cover these things in individual tutorials, but I just want to kind of go through some of these common mistakes. Not converting text to outlines. Sometimes, even though you can embed the fonts in Adobe InDesign or what have you, Quark, Corel Draw, whatever you're using, there are times where it's not going to be perfect, or it's not going to read on their side, or what have you, or you might have the license to that font, but the printer may not. You need to convert that stuff to outlines. You can keep a version that has the live type, but you need to convert that stuff to outlines when you're exporting it for final and sending it off to the printer. And most of them recommend that you do that. And the reason that people are afraid to do this is there's two reasons. One, they don't know that in Adobe InDesign, there's a feature where on export, it will convert live type to outlines so that you can still live edit whenever you want. Or B, they don't know that they can just create an additional document, or that they could drag the live type off to the side of the artboard / page, document space, whatever, and then just convert what's on the document page to be printed to outlines, and they still have the editable version over there, and they could copy and paste in place, what have you. So there are things like that. There are workflow things, and I will do a video on converting to outlines in Adobe InDesign and Illustrator so that you can do that, but that's a primary example. Another one is not knowing that you're supposed to use Adobe InDesign or Illustrator for the final print work in the first place. A lot of people are still using or overusing Photoshop as their go-to tool, and just because you can do print work in Photoshop doesn't mean you should. The text and the stuff is not going to be as crisp as it should. You're probably not going to have the printer's marks and everything that you need set up appropriately. You really just need to take the artwork from Photoshop into Adobe InDesign and use that for the print production process. That is what it is for. That's why it is a bundle. And if you have Photoshop but you don't have Adobe InDesign and you don't want to pay for it, then you can use an open source program. You can use Scribus, or you can go ahead and you can buy Corel Draw more affordably. But you should have a dedicated program for digital print production if you're taking print design work seriously, or if you're working in advertising, you absolutely need to do that. When you're working in Adobe Illustrator, you need to understand the difference between CMYK, spot colors, and Pantone colors, when it's appropriate to use all of those. You need to know when it's appropriate to deliver PNG, SVG, EPS, or the outright Illustrator file. You need to understand those things. You need to understand the compatibility issues. These are things that you really need to get into. If you're going to be doing stuff with newspapers, you need to learn about ink color density and how that actually works. How to actually do the math to say that I can't use these colors because it's going to be oversaturated on the newspaper print. It's going to be too much ink, so they limit it, and so you have to learn about ink color density and how that works if you're going to be printing stuff for newspapers. You just can't do it the regular way you've been doing other print work. So this is why graphic designers need to learn digital print production and really understand that print design is more than just printing it at 300 dpi or printing it from Adobe Illustrator in vector. There's a lot more to it than that, and I will cover it in other videos. But I want to know what you're struggling with in print design. Let me know in the comment section below. What are you struggling with in print design? Has a printer or has a client ever come back to you and said the print work was done wrong or not produced correctly? Let me know your story about that in the comment section below. If you're somebody who on the client side has gotten bad print work from a designer, let me know what mistakes were made and how you would have liked it handled. Tell me your story in the comment section below and we'll talk about it. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome content on the channel. As always, you guys, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today.